would target these guys, saying, you're not supposed to be friends with the infidels, and we would prop them up. Until Jimmy Carter comes along and decides to pull the rug out from the Shah, and lets the fundamental Ayatollah take over. Next slide. Another interesting thing was oil was discovered in Saudi Arabia, next, in 1938, next, and next. We're going to go next. Go through some of these next. And so I'll go back to one. This is interesting. The Muslim Brotherhood's goal is based on the two cities Muhammad lived in, back one. And Muhammad first was in Mecca, back one slide, and another one. I think the other way. Other way. One more. Next. 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 Are we going backwards or what? Yeah, there you go. Okay, see on the upper right, Mecca phase, Medina phase. The Muslim Brotherhood noticed that there are lots of non-violent Muslims, and they've gotten access into countries and taken advantage of the freedom of religion. And so the Muslim Brotherhood's goal is to be a Meccan Muslim, and Muhammad was just a religious leader in Mecca. So the Muslim Brotherhood said the first phase is pretend like you're just a religious Muslim and come into the countries and take advantage of their freedom of religion and build communities and get jobs and get in all kinds of influential positions, and then when the signal comes, you move to the Medina phase. And you become a political militant Muslim and you overthrow the government of the country. And so that's what they did in all these countries. They got into all the different positions, and then they snapped their fingers, and all of a sudden there's this Arab Spring, this coordinated overthrowing of the governments in these countries so they can set up their caliphate, so they can take over, get rid of these kings and presidents, and reestablish the Ottoman Empire. So the thought is that all these Muslim immigrants they're bringing into America and spreading them all around the country, that they might be planning an Arab Spring. Simultaneous Fergusons and Baltimores all across America right before the next election. And in the confusion, the president will come in, militarize all the local police forces, and he'll set up a standing army in our country. And then begin to go house to house and disarm people that he considers enemies of the state. Next. These are groups, as was already pointed out, that are in America that have connections with the Muslim Brotherhood. Next. And Hitler was going to send all the Jews to Palestine to get rid of them, and the Muslim leader called the Mufti of Jerusalem said, we don't want to kill him. So he raised an entire Bosnian Panzer division of Muslims. He had an Arab legion of Muslims that surrounded him. And when he died in Berlin, they found these 100 Muslim Arab legion was surrounding him there. Next slide. And 1938, the Muslims get a shot in the arm with oil being discovered by Standard Oil Company in the sands of Saudi Arabia. And the West buys so much money. Saudi Arabia goes from the poorest Muslim country to the richest Muslim country, and they use that money to spread their Wahhabi version of Islam. And they're one of the main supporters of trying to reestablish this caliphate. And next slide. 1955, they have a riot, a pogrom in Constantinople, call it Istanbul, and they kill about 50,000 more Christians. Next, 1971, Muslims killed 2.4 million Hindus, raped 200,000 Hindu women. Nixon and Kissinger do nothing. Next, I love Reagan, but in 1983, they blew up the Marine barracks in Lebanon, killed 241 U.S. Marines. His response was to leave. Next, and then we got Muslims that said we had enough of democracy, and they went Sharia. Next, so what Sharia is trying to be like Muhammad. Next, Muhammad. Just like Christians want to be like Jesus, they want to be like Muhammad, except Christians don't believe they go to heaven by being like Jesus. They go to heaven by believing that Jesus died on the cross to pay for their sins. And they're so happy they want to be like Jesus to show the rest of the world how much he loves them. In Islam, they believe their salvation is based on how closely and minutely they can imitate Muhammad. Next. And so what Muhammad permitted is permitted, it's called halal. What Muhammad did not permit is not permitted, called haram. Next, so Muhammad liked cats. Cats are halal, they are permitted. Muhammad did not like dogs. Dogs are haram, they are not permitted. Next, and so the Sharia law comes from the Quran, private revelations to Muhammad, from the two cities, Mecca and Medina. Next, then the Hadith, there's 60,000 of these Hadith stories remembered about Muhammad. Next is the Sirat, or biography of Muhammad, written 100 years after his death. Next, and then there's 1,400 years of rulings. All that together is Sharia law. It's very complicated. Next, it covers what to believe, what to eat, how to dress, when to pray, what direction to pray, what position to be in, how many wives to have, the correct way to beat a wife. Actually, teach the right way to beat your wife. Next slide, you can skip past these. Next, and next, for the sake of time. So, question, how do modern Muslims that have been here for a while, how do they turn into fundamental violent Muslims? Well, let's see. Next. President Bush was the first president to speak in a mosque. Next. First president to put a crown in the presidential library and celebrate Ramadan in the White House. Next. Laura Bush puts on the Muslim veil. Next. Nancy Pelosi puts on the Muslim veil. Next. Hillary Clinton puts on the Muslim veil. Next. And then we have 3,000 Muslims praying on the U.S. Capitol lawn. What would we think if Billy Graham had a crusade in downtown Saudi Arabia, right? Riyadh. Next, we have Muslims in the Democrat Party. Next, we have school kids being taught Muslim prayers. Chicago has Hamas chapters. Next, and next, we issue Islamic postage stamps. Next, I put this one in there. You got to look at it for a second. Smile. Next. And so we have Muslims swearing into Congress with their hand upon a Quran. Why is that a problem? The Quran says it's superior to man-made laws like Constitution, and it's okay to lie to make it